Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So, I ran a primary election against Elliot Engel, and we were fortunate enough to pull out the victory on June 23rd. And my job, my mandate, and my responsibility is to go to Washington and fight for criminal justice reform on a national level. And when we talk about criminal justice reform, we're talking about it from all different angles. So it's about fighting against police brutality, it's about fighting against mass incarceration, and it's to make sure that we have reentry programs so when our brothers and sisters come back into the community, they have jobs, they have housing, and they have opportunity. And what's unfortunate is we are all here on this beautiful day in 2020, and I was speaking to one of my brothers earlier today, one of the elders, and he told me they were having the same conversation 40, 50 years ago. And it's time for us to stop having this conversation and to have true reform when we talk about law enforcement so that we could build a Mount Vernon, a district in the country that truly works for everyone. Now, before I ran for office, I was an educator. And as a teacher, counselor, and middle school principal, the number one thing we all understood very clearly is, number one, we had a big responsibility, but the second thing was accountability. Accountability. It was my job to treat my teachers, my children, and my parents with the utmost dignity and respect. That was my job as a teacher. And that's exactly what we're asking from the police department. It is your responsibility to treat everyone with the utmost dignity and respect, and to be a problem solver when people come to you with the issues that they're dealing with. And I'm standing before you today as a victim of police brutality. When I was 11 years old, hanging out with my friends, horse playing the way 11-year-olds do. Not doing nothing wrong, not hurting nobody. Someone called the police. They didn't like how we was acting. Next thing you know, I'm thrown against the wall, I'm thrown on the ground, face on the ground, nightstick to the back. Me and my friends beat down by police at 11 years old. That's 6th grade, y'all. I'm in the precinct. They call my mother, tell my mother, please make sure you bring his birth certificate when you come to the precinct. We don't believe he's 11 years old. My mother comes with the birth certificate to prove my age. They let me go, no charges, no nothing. Now, my mother and I didn't even think about any recourse. We didn't think about suing. We didn't think about pushing back, because unfortunately, when you black and brown in this country, you feel powerless at the hands of the police. And you feel powerless within the American judicial system, a system that has been oppressing us for 401 years. But it's time for us as elected officials to work with the community to take back that power. Because police are supposed to be under the jurisdiction of the people that they are hired to protect and serve. That's whose jurisdiction they should be under. And the number one thing, as I said before, is accountability. That's all we are asking. You are hired to protect and serve and uphold the law. It does not mean you are above the law. You are not above the law. And at a federal level, the CBC and the House introduced something called the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And that act seeks to do two very important things. Number one, end qualified immunity. And number two, end no-knock warrants. If there were no-knock warrants, Breonna Taylor would be alive today. And in terms of qualified immunity, once we end qualified immunity, we are able to hold police accountable at a federal level. We are able to hold them accountable for violating the civil and human rights of the people that they engage with. So if they beat someone down and or kill someone, they could be held to a federal standard of breaking the law. Right now, that law, that policy, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, is sitting on the desk of Republicans in the Senate, which is why we got to get Republicans out of the Senate We got to get Donald Trump out of the White House, Democrats take control, and then we can move that policy forward. But Democrats having control is not going to be enough, because Democrats have to be held accountable too, in the same way we hold Republicans accountable. So once we get the Republicans out of the White House, we're going to have to continue to organize, not just here in Mount Vernon, but Yonkers, New Rochelle, North Bronx, entire district, entire country, to make sure we dismantle the current system that is literally killing us and rebuild a system that's rooted in love and restorative justice for our people. That's the mission, that's the goal. I'm so proud to represent Mount Vernon in Congress. We're not there yet. November 3rd, make sure you all vote so we can win that general election. But I also want to echo, and I'm so happy you said this earlier, there are good police officers in the Mount Vernon Police Department. And one of those good police officers stood up and spoke out against the ones who are not doing the right thing. And we have to do a better job of protecting whistleblowers who speak up for the people and speak out against what's wrong. We have to do a better job of making sure they are protected and they are empowered, so that we could clean up the Mount Vernon Police Department and every police department from the inside out. So I look forward to